Hello and welcome to Goal Setting for People Who Don't Like Goal Setting. This is definitely me, and at this time of year a lot of people are talking about setting goals and resolutions and all of that jazz, and new year, fresh slate and all of that. But actually, if doesn't really inspire you, if you can't quite get why people are so into that, or setting these kinds of things don't really work for you, then this video is for you, because this is about giving you a little bit of an understanding of why that might be, like what your psychology is, what's going on for you, and also what might ignite your passions and what might inspire you in a different kind of way. So what's going on? Why don't we like goals? It's a little short thing about that. One thing is, if you're an ideas person, goal setting isn't necessarily something that motivates you in the same way. So for people who like goals, they kind of like that idea of kind of stats and data and ticking things off and all of that. They can be really motivated by that. But actually, not everyone is like that. Some of us are ideas people, and we're kind of motivated and inspired and ignited by really cool ideas that we have. And they're not necessarily goal bound. They're not necessarily anything there that we can kind of put a pin in and say, this is how I'll know when I've achieved this. But actually the idea is just what's important to us. So that, I think, if you resonate with that, this is definitely for you. The other thing that can be happening is that goals can just be a little bit intimidating for some people. Like, they can just be, I find that they're a bit intimidating. It's kind of like people say, oh, what's your goal? What's your financial goal? What do you want to make this year? What do you want to, all of that kind of stuff. It's a bit like, whoa, it's a little bit too much. It's not quite the right thing. And we know that when we get into that, too much, and that fear response of the fight or flight can happen. So fighting, flight, running away. But there's another one that we don't actually talk about that often, and that is freeze. And that one's a really important one, because if you find yourself getting stuck, you just can't move anywhere because there's just too much in your mind. You don't know which way to turn. You don't maybe know what direction to go in. You've just got too many thoughts, and you just get stuck. That freeze thing can happen when we're trying to set those goals, because it just feels like there's just so much. So many different possibilities, so many different opportunities. And if you are a good goal rebel, this is probably for you, because we tend to have a lot of high empathy, and having high empathy means that we're really good at bigger picture thinking. So we're really good at seeing everything, all the different permutations and all the different things that could possibly happen. And that can lead us to that freeze moment, because we're like, what do we do? How do we get through this? So that's another reason sometimes we can be kind of a bit put off by goal setting. And yet it can be important, but we can sometimes feel like it's all about control. And the problem with control is that you can have a goal and you can work towards it, but actually you don't have control over that end goal. So if you have a certain money goal in mind, if you've got something you really, a certain amount you want to make, or a certain number of sales you want to make in this year, or whatever that might be, you can do all the things. And it's not just down to you. There are certain goals that we can set for ourselves that are just down to us. If we say we're going to do a certain number of things each day or each week, that's down to us completely. But when it comes to something like a money goal or a number of sales goal, that's a little bit more difficult, because we don't have a control over that. All we can do is take our aligned action and keep moving forwards and doing the thing. But we know in our minds that we don't control that. And I think sometimes that can put us off as well, because it's like, well, I can do all of the things, I can do everything right and not get there. So what am I doing? Why am I setting this goal? So I think that's a really important one. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the power of ideas. If you're an ideas person, something just sparks you and you're like, yes, and this is where I'm going, this is what I'm moving towards. And that is what motivates you, the power of ideas. And so if you are not so much a kind of a stats and goal oriented person, let's turn towards ideas. There are a few different ways we can use ideas in as a way of setting up ourselves for success for 2025. One of them is in the word of the year. So you may have seen this. I've talked about this for a number of years actually. But if you kind of set up your word for the year, and it's around a word that sums up your year, what you want the year to be for you, and that helps. You can kind of you then use that word to really just check in with what you're doing. Does this align with that feeling of that, what I want for my year? So I think setting up a word for the year can be a really helpful thing if you're an ideas person. Another thing that you can do is a challenge. Is there some way that if you've got an idea of something you really want to achieve this year, is there some way you can kind of set yourself a fun challenge? So a few years ago now, I don't even know when, I think it was 2019, but I'd have to look back. I set myself a challenge at the end of the year, and it was New Year's Eve, probably 2018, I guess. I'll have to check my years, but anyway, it was around then. And I didn't love making rings, so I teach jewelry making. That's one of the things that I do, but I didn't love making rings, and so I set myself the challenge to make a ring a month. And I thought, oh, let's open this up to other people. And I shared it with my jeweler friends on New Year's Day, and I said, does anyone else want to join in with this? And I think in the first month, over 100 people had also made a ring in that month. And I set a theme for everyone, and we worked through and we did a ring a month. And I did that challenge for a few years, and now I'm fine with making rings. So that challenge was really great for me in that moment. And I also have my current challenge, which is around the Good Girl's Guide to resistance. So resisting the thing in my brain that's stopping me from doing certain things. That I'm working on right now. So that is my current challenge that I'm doing. So is there a way you can come up with a challenge, something that you're going to set yourself, that's going to motivate you, that's going to inspire you? Maybe that's something you can share with people. Perhaps it's something you could share on social media, because sometimes having that accountability and that check-in is a really helpful thing as well. So if you are inspired more by ideas, if those are the things that spark you off and get you moving and get you working, then do have a think about how can you take an idea, how can you take a theme, how can you take something through your year, even through the next month, whatever it might be. I feel like we just have to do something for the amount of time that it resonates with us, and then we can kind of stop and leave it behind. I think that's another thing. We need to give ourselves permission to do that sometimes. Don't have to carry it on forever and a day. So what is it that you can do? Could you think about your word of the year? Is there something that could inspire you around a particular word that could really sum up what you want for this year? Is there some kind of challenge or something that you could do that will be fun, that will inspire you, that maybe could inspire other people because you could share it with them as well? So have a think about how can you take an idea, how can you take that kind of theme and run with it. I think that's really important. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Anna Campbell. I am the leader of the Good Girl Rebellion, and I have a Good Girl Rebellion 6-month program starting on the 6th of January, and it is about helping you grow your business. And it is around doing that with the things that are actually working right now for people. There's lots of done for you templates, done for you things. So we're going to be working on things like your email marketing, your social media and your visibility, your business planning and your focus. So there's so much we're going to be looking at in this 6 months. And if it sounds like it might be something that will be of interest to you, to have that support, accountability, and to have that direction, because I think what can happen is we can think, oh, I can just wing it, I'll just work it out for myself. But actually, when we work and do trial and error, we do a lot of error. And what we want to do is get there, and we want to get there fast. So I have been a marketing coordinator for a business that makes £1 million plus per year. I have my own oversubscribed business. I am CPD, sales strategist, qualified, so I work with sales strategy for my own business and for other people's businesses. I am a business and mindset coach. I have a background in psychology lecturing, so I bring in the mindset and also the business know-how, because the biggest thing that stands in our way is ourselves. So if you are interested in that, I will share the link, and I'd love to see you on that program if it is the right fit for you. Have a brilliant 2025. I cannot wait to see what you do this year.